FutureDad 22. Music is a narcotic. Quote, I like music and I love musicals. Wayne Rooney. I love music. I know everyone says that, by which they mean they love their own favourite music, but I would argue I do more than most. For 3 decades I have curated a library of over 5,000 songs across 24 genres with autistic obsession. I've edited many of them to synchronise with my workout routine, keeping track of those edits along with my favourite mixes in a spreadsheet. I spent 10 years of my young adulthood clubbing every weekend and travelled hundreds of miles to go to dance music festivals. In collaboration with others, I have created and produced 2 albums of original electronic dance music. I've even tried to learn both violin and conga drums, and was bad and very average at those things respectively. All this appears to be inherited. My biological dad was a moderately well-known rock star of his day. Given all that, I think it's fair to say I'm more passionate about music than most. That brings me to my observation in this essay. Right now I'm listening to Water of Life by Nemanti. Drone is the only music I can listen to distraction-free whilst doing something that requires concentration. Or so I thought. It has become apparent to me that even the most minimalist of music, when compared to writing in silence, has a pronounced effect on my writing. In other words, I have been writing under the influence of a substance which affects my judgment. The previous sentence is an example of using euphemisms to distance ourselves from reality. The reality here is that I was in some sense on drugs. We always ignore that consequence of doing anything on music and see it as harmless and mundane. After all, it's just music. Setting aside attempts to downplay this notion, let's explore what's really going on. No one talks publicly and openly about the impact of making decisions whilst under the influence of music. Simply put, music inspires you to do a thing you wouldn't have done otherwise. It also inspires you to continue to do a thing that you would have otherwise stopped. That thing is usually trivial, but sometimes not. It would inspire you to send an emotional email to an ex when you hear the song you first danced to, or an aggressive text to a friend when a heavy metal song comes on the radio, or a social media update revealing more than you should. See FutureDad 12, delete your social media. Because you sent it in a nightclub when the beat dropped. These might be trivial personal events, but not without consequences, and the internet never forgets. Specific music can be the equivalent of drinking alcohol, taking ecstasy, or smoking weed to most people. We all know that your decision making is impaired on these substances. Equally, when listening to mood-inducing or mood-enhancing music, we are prompted to make sometimes life-altering decisions. Yes, I am serious about the dangers of this, whilst acknowledging that, yes, it's still only music. As Renton says in Trainspotting, it's a tightrope, Spud. It's an effing tightrope. In modern fiction, it's the same. When the romantic lead hears a sad song and does something soppy or pathetic in a movie scene, the audience cringes, laughs, or cheers. It's considered part and parcel of romantic entanglements. Rarely do we consider the influential backdrop to these regrettable actions. Again, no one ever questions the wisdom of listening to music to motivate an action, so I will. Given the possibility of personal calamity, my gambit is this: question or curtail any actions or decisions you take when music is playing. What does this mean in practice? Well, if you're anything like me, then music evokes a level of emotion in you that far surpasses films and books. That is exactly why you need to cast a critical eye on your actions when you, especially if a young man, are high on music. Ask yourself, would I send this email to an ex-girlfriend if I wasn't listening to this poignant violin solo? Would I ask this woman to marry me if our song hadn't coincidentally started playing in the background? Would I drive this fast if I wasn't listening to this banging dance track? Would I decide to take this substance if the beat didn't just drop in the way it did? If you answer no to any of those questions, and an almost infinite number more like it, then yes, by definition, you're high on music. If there's the remotest chance of negative consequences, and that doesn't mean laughter at your funky dancing, you should press pause on your actions and dial back your high time preference. Engage your slower, more conscientious thought process, or you will be in debt to your future. Notice the difference. I am not saying music is bad, and I never would. I am in no position to be so pious. And besides, like I pointed out in the beginning, music is a big part of my life. But recall my comments on noticing in FutureDad 23, Habits Part 2, How to Create Good Habits. You have to cross-examine all your motivations carefully, because no one else will, at least in a constructive or success-oriented way. If the primary driver of a life-altering decision is that it felt right in the mood, then that decision is not born of rationality. The more your decisions are irrational, the lower your chance at your best life. That chance is only within your grasp as long as you consciously use your brain for such decisions, specifically your ability to reason. Otherwise, some irrational decisions may cost you years of your life to undo, yet other similar decisions may lead to some harmless fun. But the trouble is, without deliberate introspection, you won't know in advance which is which. So, when about to take action, switch a song off, especially Two Rights Make One Wrong by Mogwai. If you still want to send a text or pop the question, and whilst sitting in silence you think it's wise to do so, then have at it. Future Dad.